Now, also, on that fight card that was in Norfolk, Virginia, of course, we talked about, Keyshawn Davis. He was able to do his thing there, against Gustavo Lemos. And you had, Kelvin Davis with a decision win. He was able to show out. You had Keon Davis in his pro debut. He was able to show out there and get a decision win as well. But then you also had the show stealer, as he says it, Abdullah Mason, and he was able to, yeah, he did steal the show there in that particular bout that he had, and I was just like, man, against Yohan Vasquez, that first round was the craziest first round that I have been to live. You had, of course, Abdullah Mason, being a highly touted, prospect. This was his fifth fight of the year going up against Yohan Vasquez. And you seen there after about a minute or so, it was looking like he was doing very well. And in an exchange, he ended up going down. And I was like, oh my goodness, yo, you serious? And, that happened. But then he got up. And then when he got up, he was able to get in the trenches. And then he popped and floored Yohan Vasquez. And I was like, oh my goodness, yo, that could be candidate for knockout of the year. But Vasquez got up. And then after Vasquez got up before the end of the first round, he ended up catching him again. Mason going down again. And I'm like, two knockouts. Oh, snap. So that was like a wild first round. And then in the second round, you just seen the composure there of Abdullah Mason. And he's like, yo, I'm going to show y'all how good I am and how I'm going to do this dude. And he ended up breaking it down Vasquez. And when Vasquez went down to a body shot there in the second round, he didn't get up. And then that was it. It was a wrap. So Abdullah Mason, they're still undefeated and probably probably now a shoo-in for round of the year there for boxing, man. What did you think about that fight, man?
So the same thing, bro. Like you just said, like I'm I'm buying into the hype that was behind Abdul. He's a great young fighter, exciting. I'm watching him. I said, okay, I don't see too many flaws, so I'm buying into the hype. But I also knew that there's somebody, you know what I mean? And that's one thing Top Rank does. Of course, you're supposed to build your fighter. But
Mm-hmm.
I knew, because I was just talking to my friends the other day. One of my boys was like, man, I want to see him fight such and such and such and such and such and such. I'm like, not yet. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, he hasn't got his man strength yet. You know what I mean? I'm like, he's a good fighter, but like there's still a little difference in there. And that and then fast forward like 3 weeks later, this fight happens. He gets dropped by, you know, somebody who was a little older, got that pop where I might not have the most skills, but if I put these old dukes on you now,
Right. Yeah.
if I put these dukes on you, boy,
Yeah.
and he dropped them. Not once, not twice. It could have been worse, but like I say, um, Abdullah is a good, young, mature fighter where he has the DNA. But I seen in him once he did get dropped, his composure immediately, and him getting dropped. He got up. He didn't look lost or like oh my God. He got up, took his time to the ref, moved a little bit, got himself together, and went back out there. He didn't shy away. He wasn't gun shy. He wasn't, he stayed poised. Cause like stuff like that, that's where your heart's at. You know what I'm saying? Like a fighter, when they hurt, you see their heart. Where like with him, when he is in those bigger fights or those more dangerous fights as he get older, we see how he gonna go out. He gonna go out on his shield. You know what I'm saying? Like him getting dropped twice like that means that's heart. He didn't shrivel up. He didn't shy away. He didn't switch his game plan. He went out there and stuck to his same exact game plan. He went out there, got back right in the pocket, start touching the guy to the body, this, that, looking good. Then he got caught again. I was just like, whoo, wee. I said, yo, I don't. But that fight let me know they need to slow him down just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Not slow him down, but match him right and still build him. Don't just throw him to the wolves. Still build him, even though he, what I mean, looking fantastic. But
Mm-hmm.
that fight right there let me know, like, he's still in that building stage and he's still young. You know what I'm saying? Overall, as a fighter, Abdul's a good young prospect, 20 years old. He's looking fantastic, but like I said, he's still young.
Yeah.
He still
Yeah.
got to fill out his frame. Like skill wise, he's there. But as far as like if you do get in there with one of those bigger, stronger opposing guys, does he have that pop to keep that guy off of him? You know what I'm saying? Like I would want to see, and then two as well. He's only one. I want to see him get some rounds in, like his next fight or the next. I think he said this was his last 8-round fight.
That's right.
So I do want to see him get in there with a solid guy that's not going to go anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to see a guy in there with a chin, where it's like, because I want to see him get those rounds in. He needs those. He's only went past. He's only went 6 rounds twice in his what 14, 15, 16 fight career, something like that. Those rounds are important because we got to see what he looked like on the back half. He could look good for these first 5, 6 rounds.
Yeah.
I want to see what he look like for the back half. Do he still got the same dog? Is he still got the same aggression? Is he still, bouncy? Or is he like, I need to see that before we can say, he's fully, I need to see a complete fight out of him. For his stage of development he's at, no complaints. Perfect, good young fighter. Like you say, he's been active, 5 fights this year? He's supposed to do that. He's 20. You know what I'm saying? He's supposed to be out there. Like we were just talking about the other one. Once you get older, bro, it ain't the same no more. Right. Once you get 33, this and them guys fight once, maybe twice a year. He's 20. What? He's supposed to be fighting every month. I'm just joking, but he's supposed to be, you feel me, active. So he's supposed to do this. And then when he do get to that pinnacle, he gonna be on point, bro. Like, matter of fact, I wouldn't mind him against a Floyd Schofield if they could make that fight. I wouldn't mind seeing. I know that's they on different sides of the fence, but I wouldn't mind seeing them against a Floyd Schofield. They 16-0, 18-0, 120, 122. Floyd came off
Renee Tejas, he got knocked down in the 11th round in that fight, but it was still something where we still had some things to work on at that particular.
It opened the door. Like I said, when you're a main event, you get criticized like a main event.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We can't just, if you knock somebody out, say he's the greatest, but then when you do less than stellar, we can't act like we don't see what we see. You know what I'm saying? So we got to be, I don't know who on that list I would want to see him against, but Floyd Schofield, that's a big fight, honestly. That could be on the undercard of like one of those bigger fights. I wouldn't mind seeing that on the undercard.
But the thing is, there with Floyd Schofield, he's already at the point where he's won like minor titles. There he is ranked number 2 in the WBA. After maybe what happens there with Williams Zepeda, he might end up being number 1 in the WBA. So I don't know like when they would be able to match up like something like that with Floyd Schofield and Abdullah Mason. But what I was looking at was, you have Abdullah Mason currently at 135. He's been on the same card multiple times with another fighter that is a top contender now at 135 in Keyshawn Davis. Now, Keyshawn Davis has been able to properly be built up in order to get to the point where he currently is. So I say, here with Abdullah Mason, go with the same route. With the 8-rounders and you go into the 10-rounders, you got those opponents out there that, have been 10-rounders against a Keyshawn Davis like Anthony Yiggett or Francisco Patera, or maybe, have someone that's faced notable fighters at 135 in Juan Carlos Burgos. Now, that could be scheduled for a 10-round. It doesn't mean that it's going to go to full 10 rounds, but at least, with Juan Carlos Burgos, you have a tough, rugged guy that that, hey, if I'm not able to get him out of there, within those 5 or 6 rounds, I can still get the proper amount of rounds in to see where I'll be able to be more sharper on offense or defense. So I say maybe someone like a Juan Carlos Burgos in a bout that's scheduled for 10 rounds that could be next for Abdullah Mason.
Yeah, I mean, all right. So do you think Abdullah is still at that, for you personally, do you think he's still at that building his development stage, or do you think he's ready to start to step into contendership?
His talent level will have people saying that he's ready for contendership, but he doesn't necessarily, like the opponents that he has had, doesn't get him to that particular point yet. Because if you talk about like a contendership there in a lightweight division, you're talking about like facing like a guy that could be like a former world champion, like a George Kambosos Jr., you know,
Oscar Duarte.
or Duarte, you know what I mean, or even like a Nicholas Walters. But
Edwin De Los Santos.
oh yeah, like an Edwin De Los Santos, man. I'm glad that Edwin De Los Santos has not had one fight this whole year because he deserves to be out of the ring for a whole year for his performance against Shakur Stevenson. But that's a whole nother story. But yeah, I mean, with Abdullah Mason, like you have a number of these fighters out there at 135 pounds, especially they're under Top Rank. They pretty much have a whole plethora of fighters at 135 that could be available for Abdullah Mason to fight there in a 10-round bout. So I think that they'll be able to properly guide him very well in this next year to kind of like build him up there before he makes an entry into some of these rankings in the sanctioning bodies there.
I would personally like his folks, they doing great. You know what I'm saying? Him and his father, his whole camp, bro, on point. Like you can see just everything about how he handled that situation. I loved his post fight interview in there. He didn't make no excuses. You know, a lot of fighters get in there and oh, something happened in camp or this or that. He flat out said, look, it's boxing.
Yep.
I can't say nothing else to that.
Right.
It's boxing. That's He got up and he went to work and dogged it out. Every fight not gonna be you fighting. You know what I'm saying? So I know you're gonna get touched. I know you're gonna do this. How you respond. It's the effort and defeat that I admire more than defeat. It's the effort you give. You can lose, but if you give a good effort in your defeat, we'll say, okay, like we were saying, you lost to this guy just because he's better, but you might could beat this guy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So for Abdullah, his effort, and like I say, that whole post fight interview, like, man, it's boxing and I still got it. Like just his he wasn't like shriveled up by it. He wasn't like embarrassed, like, oh my God, he didn't make no excuses. Hey, it's boxing.
Yep.
What can you say to that? You know what I'm saying? Okay, you can tear him down, but of course he knows he got dropped. You know what I mean? He clearly. Right. But like he said, it's boxing. I got caught with a good shot.
Mm-hmm.
That shows me his poise and his maturity. You know what I'm saying? Like the whole handling of that. A lot of guys, like I say, will make excuses. Oh, this or oh that or this or that. That young man has a very bright future. For him to be only 20, I would love to see him as he's getting about, I'm going to say 23. That's when they should turn him loose. You know what I'm saying? Because by that time, a lot of those other guys in that division will either started to make a move up in their weight classes. They'll be going to another weight but 23, like I will wait him out because he's still young.
Yeah.
Once we get there, we don't want to go back. We want to be able to get there and sustain. Mm-hmm. So about 23, 24, he'll fully start to get into that man strength, still grow a little bit where he can run 135. Like I don't think Tank could be at 135 in 3 years. Tank 30. So Tank, I don't know how many more years Tank want to fight. I don't know how much longer Tank fight. I don't know if he fight 7 years. I don't think he do that. I don't know how long Tank fight, but Shakur might be done went up by then.
Mm-hmm.
Loma probably be done retired.
Yep.
Keyshawn might have went up by then.
Mm-hmm.
Floyd, Schofield, and him would be the guys. You know what I'm saying? So I would love to see him get his title shot about 23.
Yeah.
23-ish, bro.
Yeah, pretty much could be at that point. Like I said, they're under Top Rank. They know how to, properly build fighters and get them, to the point that once they do have that opportunity to win a world title, that they'll be properly ready for it. And within like 2 or 3 years, you'll see Abdullah Mason out there contending for a world title there in the lightweight division, depending on the situation of what's going on there. Because as you mentioned, with the number of those fighters currently at the top of the rankings, either they're going to retire or they're going to move up. So that kind of clears the path there for Abdullah Mason to, go after, one of those world titles there, man. But, that's, mainly what I had there for, both, the cards there in Philadelphia and in Norfolk. just here to close out, want to kind of get your thoughts on this event that they're going to have at AT&T Stadium on Friday night. Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, supposed to happen, in the summer. Of course, Tyson had his little, health issue, so they pushed it back here for November. It's 8 rounds, 2-minute rounds, and for me, I feel like this has all the signs of, as they say, viral moment on each side. So it's like either you're gonna see something where Jake Paul gets knocked out or Mike Tyson gets knocked out. Do you see like one of those situations happening there on Friday?
Um, well, yeah. Mike Tyson's still a live dog, bro. Like, I don't care how old he is.
Mm-hmm.
People know how to play with Mike Tyson. You know what I'm saying? Like, he different. I don't care if he old. I don't care what state he in.
Mm-hmm.
He's dangerous. Like that, them Dukes, like I say, he got.
Yeah.
You don't lose that power like that. So Jake coming there playing around. Mike, I know he ain't fought hard since the early 2000s. But when did he fight Roy Jones? I forgot when that
That
was.
was is that 2020 when that thing happened between those two?
And he was looking kind of decent considering that he, you know what I'm saying, is a retired fighter. Like he looked like he could beat some old guys up. You know what I'm saying? Like he
Mm-hmm.
looked still prime for an older guy. He looked prime for an old guy. Like he'll beat up a lot of old guys or anybody his age. I got him beating him up.
Okay, because I got something there real quick about a fighter back in his day that is getting back in the ring, but that's something else.
But I like Jake Paul too, though. You know what I'm saying? On that, I do think I think Jake gets a lot of slack. I don't know if he still does or did, but I think Jake takes the sport of boxing serious. You know, for me, anybody that gets in there and commits to this grind, whether they went to the Golden Gloves and the Nationals and the Junior Olympics and all of that, if
Mm-hmm.
you get it, because it's no different for me than a guy coming into a local gym and saying he wants to turn pro and fighting a couple 4 rounders and hanging it up. They consider those guys real boxers, right?
Mm-hmm.
The B side guys that's fighting these world champions in the beginning of their fights, those is looked at as real boxers. You
Mm-hmm.
know, all these guys that your favorite fighter fought in their first 4 or 5 fights. I'm like, Jake is committing and he's getting in there just like those guys. He's committing to this. Why he not a real boxer? I mean, I know he came from a different background, but
Right.
he's in there training. He getting
Yeah,
cracked on.
definitely in there training.
You get in there, you get cracked on. That's gonna let you know if you want to do this or not. You get in there, you touch up, you get pop, 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 pop. You gonna make a business decision right that second, not the end of the round, right that second. You
Mm-hmm.
get popped on 3, 4 times. So for Jake to have done that under them bright lights multiple times, Jake to knock guys out, I'm like, he a real boxer, bro. Now him fighting Mike Tyson, I don't know what that fight. What's the intentions? Like, is that a money fight? Is that a him trying to put a big name under his belt? Like, I don't know what that. I don't know what is that? A money fight?
Jake Paul is getting at least $40 million for this particular fight.
I see why them fighters be hating on him then. I see why these guys hate on him then, bro.
Mm-hmm.
I see why, because she get 40 M's. That's tough. And see, I like Jake too though, because he puts on a woman's boxing. Just about every card I've seen of his is going to have Amanda Serrano
Mm-hmm.
on the card, Sadesha Green on the card. They signed to, Jake Paul. I like to see that, because that's a big moment with his platform for those great fighters to get some of that spotlight. You know what I'm saying? So for that too, I got to give him his props. Like I can't knock him. Now him against Mike Tyson though, I think Mike might get him, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like he a live dog. Like
Yeah.
he ain't nothing to play with. So I think Mike touch him a couple times. You're gonna see Jake on that back foot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you go back to Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones, man, and even though that was an exhibition, you see in the first couple minutes, Mike Tyson was out there like it was a real fight. It's like, hold on, man, like wait a minute, what's going on? So it's almost like a switch gets turned on there for Mike Tyson. So that's
Exactly.
what I want to see. Going into when that first bell rings, you gonna see Mike Tyson doing something like that. So and I'm like, yo, all it takes is like those couple punches there from Tyson, and Jake Paul will be like shriveling up because the thing with Mike, it is peak in his prime. It wasn't just the power of his punches; it was his technique. It is built in his frame. He was short, stocky, but he made everything sharp and short. So like his jab was just point A to point B wasn't that far. So it's like bam already. Hooks are like using everything that he has as far as like his lower body, using the torque in his waist and the legs that he had. Like wow. So every punch he made sure that every punch counted. And so it still has that, in him right now and him, working up to that particular point. So I'm looking for Mike Tyson to beat up Jake Paul, man. But overall, it's going to have like a millions and millions, as they say with Rock, The Rock, and all that type of stuff, right? It'll have all of those people watching on Netflix. Very huge, huge atmosphere, there for that particular fight, and looking forward to that fight card as well. Like you mentioned there with Amanda Serrano fighting Katie Taylor in a rematch, that's going to be big. Yeah, so Deja Green, going for a world title here once again against Melinda Watford. And we mentioned the thing back with Mario Barrios, going up against April Ramos on there as well. So we're going to have a few notable fights on that fight card. So definitely looking forward to it. With that being said, big thanks here with the topic.
Oh,
Having,
before
all right,
we go, I remember you was talking about at the last Boots fight,
okay.
Anthony Joshua, man.
All right, all right.
What's up with AJ before we get out of here?
Let's see if we can do this here real quick. All right. So with Anthony Joshua, of course, I mean, I was out there, Wembley Stadium, that
How
scene.
was that? How was that,
Crazy.
man? How was that?
I felt it was, a great scene, crazy and everything like that. It wasn't sold out, but it still, had a good amount of, fans out there. It wasn't 93,000 fans, y'all. But still was a lot of fans out there in Wembley Stadium. And, that whole scene, of course, of how, the fight turned out there, Daniel Dubois getting that, moment there with the knockout of Anthony Joshua, that was just a crazy scene there. And, now after that is the aftermath of, okay, what is next for Anthony Joshua? Now, a number of people were considering that he would go for the rematch. Now, initially, what I said was for Daniel Dubois, not go for the rematch, not go for the rematch, because it's almost like how you had the situation between Anthony Joshua and Andy Ruiz Jr. You know, but for Daniel Dubois, I would say like wait out and see what happens with the rematch between Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury. But now it seems like they're saying that Anthony Joshua may not end up fighting Daniel Dubois next. So with that being said, what does Anthony Joshua do in this particular case? What would be his direction? Does he, go back to, what he was doing up to this point as far as like, fighting, trying to fight often as possible and fight guys that are like, number 14 in the WBO or number 10 in the WBC? Or does he like say, hey, let's see if we could still get that dream fight with Tyson Fury? So at this point, that's where I'm like, where is he at this particular point? Does he still want to have those high profile fights? Or is he still just gonna, get back into the drawing board and try to see if he can build himself up? Because as we know with Anthony Joshua, right? How many trainers has he had in his professional career? Rob McCracken, Robert Garcia, Derek James, and Chris Jericho. I mean, Ben Davison. I keep confusing him with Chris Jericho. But yeah, he's had multiple trainers over the course of his professional career and not necessarily, stuck with one and said, okay, this is my guy. I thought it would have been there with Rob McCracken, but apparently, I guess, that just didn't work out. So that's why he delved out. So with Anthony Joshua right now, I'll be interested to see what the direction is going to be.
Say you Eddie Hearn and you Anthony Joshua promoter. Right now, who he's fighting next?
Well, let me tell you something, man. Anthony Joshua, I think he should just go right back in the ring with Daniel Dubois.
We're gonna play manager. We're gonna say what you want. We're gonna play man. We're gonna speak for the. We're gonna say manager. You, him, he getting a rematch.
Because from a financial perspective, you got Daniel Dubois rematch. You got the winner of it's gonna be Tyson Fury because if Alexander Usyk wins that rematch with Tyson Fury, you're not gonna see Anthony Joshua fighting Alexander Usyk again. No, that's not gonna happen. So you got Daniel Dubois rematch, Tyson Fury, and then maybe Zhilei Zhang. Those are the three fights I say are the most lucrative fights out there for Anthony Joshua at this point.
I think a fight between him and Big Bang is dangerous, bro.
I mean that was being brought up before, we had it was what was it? Before the heavyweight, the heavyweight thing that they had last year, at the end of last year, where Joshua fought Otto Wallin. They were talking about having Zhilei Zhang versus Anthony Joshua, there. So, and what did we end up having? Zhilei Zhang versus Deontay Wilder. Like, I mean, come on. We're like, what are we doing?
And see, I had a problem with that, bro. Like, I felt like him and Wilder should have been that fight last year. Instead of him fighting Zhang, Wilder, that was the perfect time. I felt like they tried to retire Wilder. You know what I'm saying? They sent them with the park. Who did Wilder fight? Wilder fought two guys that I felt like
Joseph Parker and Zhilei Zhang.
Two guys right there that I felt like were like making him retire fights. You know what I'm saying? Or sending him through the ringer when he could have fought Anthony Joshua. And Anthony Joshua was fighting freaking the UFC guy.
Yeah.
Francis Ngannou.
Yeah.
We fighting Francis Ngannou. We could have fought a real Francis Ngannou that's been a world champion in Wilder.
Mm-hmm.
Why are we fighting? One, to me, I don't give Joshua credit for that fight. He's a UFC guy with one freaking. If we talking about Jake Paul not being,
Fury. What about against Tyson Fury? Where he scored a knockdown and he was like talk about you're a bad professor, motherfucker. But after that,
I mean, I don't. For me, bro, it's like, all right, that's like Jake Paul fighting.
What was it? Huey Fury that he fought?
Who? Jake Paul?
Jake Paul.
Tommy Fury.
Tommy. Yeah, Tommy.
But I'm saying it's like Jake Paul fighting Canelo.
Right, yeah.
He got 12 fights, but do we, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right, but still, I mean, it's Canelo though, yeah.
Do he deserve that though? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like, if we look at it like that, this guy don't deserve for these former.
Yeah.
But, yeah, bro. I don't know. I would love to see him versus Wilder still. I still think that fight got a little bit of appeal with them both coming off of
stoppage losses. Yeah.
Tough ones. I think that would be a 50-50 to see who still got a little bit of that flame. I still think that fight could do. I'm pretty sure they probably put that in London somewhere, but I think that fight could be big for him, bro. I don't want to see him versus Big Zhang. I think that fight would get ugly.
Right, I feel you. Yeah, that should be the fight in 2025 because at this point you're not gonna get. At least for me, I feel like you're not gonna get much from a competitive standpoint for probably either one of those fighters against the top guys.
They're not the same no more.
They're not the same no more. And I kind of like said this in reference to Deontay Wilder and with Anthony Joshua. Like once you get to that point where you built yourself up, you're undefeated, you're at the top of the division or whatever it is, you've been world champion and everything like that, and you have your first loss. It's one thing to have your first loss. It's another thing to get knocked out. It's another thing to get knocked out because once that happens, it's like subconsciously you're kind of reluctant to really get it in against the future opponents that you're going up against. And so now we've seen, Joshua get knocked out multiple times. We've seen Wilder get knocked out multiple times. So how would you have them against these guys that, you'll still have pop behind their punch like a Zhilei Zhang, you know what I mean? Or someone like a Daniel Dubois. Like that wouldn't necessarily work very well. So from a business perspective, why not just go ahead and have these two fighters fight right now. And as I say, when I refer to like wrestling, a loser leaves town match or a retirement match, like how they had Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair or something. You know what I mean? Like the winner is still alive. They're in the heavyweight division, and the loser, you might as well just pack it in. So why not go ahead and have that fight in 2025? And even in 2025, a lot of people will still be interested in that fight.
I agree, bro. Because like you say, I mean, I don't know what will be for Wilder. I think Wilder is definitely at that road map, where he's cool either way. The fight really with him gotta make sense. I know Eddie Hearn's been adamant though, because AJ is like his main guy, so they gonna always have his best interest in there. Like you said, a fight with Big Bang, Zane, that's very Big Bang's still very alive dog. The only other fight, I mean, I don't want to see him in there with Martin Bacol, because that'd get ugly too. What's the guy named Philip
Hergovich. Now remember, that could have been a fight for Anthony Joshua if Philip Hergovich defeated Daniel Dubois.
Right. But yeah, so either a fight like that or I don't know, because he beat some of these other guys already, where he probably ain't gonna want to go back and you know what I mean, redo it. But I mean, he's got a few options. I don't want to see him fighting no guys we know.
Like Bakudir Jalalov, like I don't even know if they would probably put him up against Jalalov. Maybe if Sanchez. I don't know.
What do you think next for Jared Anderson? How much time we got left?
Hey, we got like about 3 minutes left.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. What you think? What's next for him coming off a big fight with Martin Bacol? That and Jared Anderson is a good young heavyweight.
He's good heavyweight. They really crushed him. I did talk with him a little bit there over in Norfolk, but I think that was pretty much like a money grab there with his team, not necessarily top rank, but with his management.
You got to secure the bag at the end of the day. This is a sport. You got to.
Yes,
you have to.
Yeah. But that could have been like a real confidence crusher there for Jared Anderson. So they're gonna, bring him back down to earth and have him, carefully matched up and just have him set up, how they were doing their over in Top Rank. So he's still gonna be floating around. They're gonna have opponents for him here in the near future. So
is Anthony Joshua name?
I don't think they're gonna do that. I don't think they're gonna do that. So they're like I talked with this trainer, his actual trainer that he's been with, since Jared was like 8 years old. They're gonna have him back on that path of just slowly building them up there in the heavyweight division. So that's what they're going to do here at this point. Feel me?
Yeah, I would love to see, because I felt like he was fighting good, but Martin Bacol, man, I think Bacol beats every heavyweight in the division right now. Any one of them,
man. And there's one fight that I'm hoping they kind of suggested it, but if it happens, oh my goodness, it would be awesome. Martin Bacoli versus Zhang. Just hold on, but that may still be possible, and I'll definitely.
I love that. I would love to see it. I just think Zhang, I don't want to say old, but he's 41, so
yeah. But still,
that might play a factor in it, maybe.
But we'll see. But yeah, that's our conversation there. Big thanks for taking the time to do this. We're gonna have this conversation here. Once again, we're gonna schedule it and we go, make sure that it goes down. And we're definitely gonna have some real interesting conversations about the various topics here in the sport of boxing, over the rest of the year and what's going on in 2025. So definitely gonna be catching you later on that one, man.
Hey, appreciate you, bro, for having me, man. Appreciate you.
Hey, y'all be sure to follow the topic on social media through Instagram. And if you have any other social media handles, you go ahead and say them right now.
Follow me at the topic is the TOP1CK. I don't know if y'all can see the hat. The TOP1CK on Instagram, man. Check my man Boxing Source out, y'all. That's my guy right there. Appreciate you, Brody.
All right, for sure, man.